Look at this beautiful day, everyone. Oh my goodness. It is a stunningly beautiful day in Vancouver. Wherever you are, I hope it's, I hope you have a nice day there today too, but we all have our ups and downs with weather, that's for sure. Vancouver has been mainly rain for the last few months, so this sun is much appreciated. Welcome wherever you are joining from. If you're here, please say hi. Let me know where you are jumping on from. I always love these lives because I feel like it's a time to really just share my perspective on the global energies that we're all moving through together at this wild time in human history. And today I wanted to talk about this beautiful energy center in our body, our throat chakra, center of communication. Shannon, if you're here, please say hello. This beautiful energy center, the throat chakra, is a place that for so many of us we have felt shut down in our lives or not even really known. Hi, Shannon. Thanks for being here. We have not even maybe known how shut down we were in this center of expression. You know, we go through the school system, we go through the life. Hi, Chris, I like it. From a very young age, we are kind of put into this box of when to speak, of when it's safe to speak, when it's not safe to speak, how loud to speak, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and we never really learn how to consciously communicate in our relationships. Hope you guys can hear me. It's a little windy. And I know many of you who follow me have probably thought the same thing over the last few years. Is like, why are we taught things that don't matter at all in school, and we're not taught how to be in touch with our emotional state, to practice awareness of what's going on actually in our bodies, of how to consciously communicate that with others. It's like you kind of drop the ball on the most important life skills. Because when you get to be an adult, unless you want to continue living in patterns with people, creating resentment, creating maybe barriers around your heart to true connection with people, then this is something that we have to learn. And it's something that we have to really just start practicing. And this week I have noticed for myself and for a lot of the people in my field, in my life, that we are being called to speak up now more than ever. We are being called to, hello, thanks for joining. We are being called to use our voice to communicate what is happening inside of this beautiful vessel, this body of ours. And what at one point, maybe even a few months ago, a few years ago, may have been something that we could kind of just keep under the rug, like, oh, it kind of bugs me when this person does that, or I kind of feel disrespected here, but I'm just not going to say anything. Our ability to kind of abandon ourselves, essentially, and to just keep moving forward with these dynamics that don't feel good for us. Our capacity for this is becoming less and less. as our awareness increases, as we become more connected to our body and start actually being aware and acknowledging what goes on inside of this body, that our emotions are messengers. And something that's been really interesting and kind of funny for me is that, as you do any personal growth work or spiritual work, you realize how much trauma you have stored in your body, and how much your wounds, and when you feel someone hurts you or someone inflicts pain on you, how often that is a trauma that's being activated in your body. So for me, for the longest time, I had a challenge with speaking up to people, even with this new awareness that I had, because I was like, this is my trauma. This is triggering my fear of abandonment. This is triggering my fear of being left out or rejection or whatever that is, that gets brought up in our current life right now, but is likely stemming from one scenario or multiple scenarios that happened when we were younger. So I would always, this journey is about taking self-responsibility and ownership. And so always bringing it back inward, being like, okay, instead of you made me feel that way, what is this bringing up in me? What could have been something that happened in my past that is triggering this within me? Which is a beautiful thing to do, and bring self-awareness to that. But what I found for myself is that I got so, and people pleasers, empaths can probably relate to this, I got so good at bringing everything back inward and being like, okay, how is this me? How is this person being mean to me actually me being wounded or triggered inside? And while that's important, I was almost negating the impact of speaking up to these things that were happening in my life. The impact of, yes, maybe this is bringing up a childhood wound, and maybe the situation, maybe someone says something to me that hurts my feelings, and maybe it wasn't objectively that bad what they said, and it's just triggering something really deep within me. So yes, I can bring that back inward, and I can look at it, and I can console the young version of myself that's feeling that pain, right? But I can also speak up to that person, even if it's something small, even if it's unintentional. The act right now, at this time, especially for those of us who have felt this part of ourselves shut down, not knowing what to say, being afraid of conflict, expressing our needs, setting boundaries. I can only speak for myself, but for my clients as well, that I'm seeing a lot is we are being activated right now to start speaking to those things, to those minute relationship dynamics, to maybe even the smallest things that are not feeding our soul, and that are hurting us or triggering us and making us feel like, okay, there's something here. I don't feel fully safe with this person. Because what we're moving into in this new world that we're creating is a world where we can actually feel safe with one another, that we can feel safe to share, safe to be vulnerable. And these relationship dynamics that all of us have created with people in our lives, where we're stuffing stuff down under the rug, where we are maybe not in a mutual exchange of energy. Maybe we feel like we're overgiving, we're not receiving enough, we feel like we're not being respected, maybe we feel like we're being taken for granted. Whatever that is, we are being invited to acknowledge those things right now. And for a lot of us, we're being invited to speak to those things. Now, this can be a challenging place to be, especially if for your whole life you've avoided conflict, you've avoided tough conversations, because I get that. I have so been there. That's been my entire journey, my entire life journey, actually, up until recently, was conflict avoidance. And when we live in that way, we're creating little cuts in our relationship cords. We have this beautiful relationship. It's an energetic exchange back and forth. And when we allow disrespect or inequality, or not speaking to actually how we're feeling in those relationships, then it cuts away at the cord of connection between us, between you and whoever that person is. And so for most of us, all of our relationships have these tiny cords that are cut between us. So for example, you feel like someone continuously disrespects your time, but you're like, oh, it's like not a big deal, they're only a few minutes late, or oh yeah, they cancel last minute, but they're really busy, it's okay. But what's happening right now with our increasing awareness of energy in our bodies is that you may be starting to feel the discomfort of that even more intensely. You might be like, oh, like this has been happening for quite a while, and now I'm really feeling it. I'm really feeling like, oh, this just doesn't feel right. Whatever that situation is for you, we have many with many different people. We are being guided right now to finally have those conversations. To finally say, hey, like, I know this might not be your intention, but I don't feel respected when this occurs between us. And you can do it in a kind, gentle, loving way, which is what I suggest. But for so many of us, we have so much emotion stored up in our bodies from so many years of not speaking up to these things, and of just allowing our relationships to have these issues that keep getting stuffed down. So, if you explode, if it comes out as anger, if it comes out as frustration, that's okay as well. We're getting to the point of where we need to be really, really honest with each other. We need to start being more honest than we've ever been in our entire lives. And what that looks like on an individual level outside of relationship is connecting more deeply with our body. Is giving yourself time and space, quiet time and space, to feel the sensations bubbling up in your body, to feel like, someone says something the wrong way, or that person is late again, and it brings up a ooh feeling in your body. It's giving yourself space to be aware of that and to feel that. We are becoming less and less able to shove this stuff down under the rug, and what we're seeing on the global collective scale is all of the fear and darkness and anger and shame and blame that has been hiding underneath the surface for all of us. We're seeing that play out on the external level in a big way. Conflict, condemnation, violence. So we need to get really honest with ourselves about where those things are hiding in us. Maybe that friend who is always late, maybe you don't speak up, maybe you haven't spoken up, but you maybe avoid their calls every once in a while, or you don't prioritize them even though it's an important friendship to you. We act out in these ways that do not serve the growth of our connections and of our relationships when there is stuff in the way, in between us and within ourselves that we're not looking at. So my message is always allowing and accepting all feelings that arise within you. Really, more than ever now, allowing yourself to feel that discomfort when it comes up. And it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy to start acknowledging all of these parts in yourself, all of these subtle relationship dynamics that don't feel good for you. But our collective throat chakras are being activated right now. And the more that you come back inward, connect with your body, give yourself space, the more you can come back out and have those conversations in a kind and clear way. It's funny, I'm talking about needing to speak up more, but on the other side, globally, we're seeing a lot of over-speaking, a lot of overactivated throat chakras, just projecting outward, projecting blame and shame and anger onto masses of people, large groups of people, blanketing people with labels and feeling so much condemnation for other human beings. But this overactive expression that is happening on the global collective scale is, for a lot of us, a reflection of how our inner world has not felt heard by us. When we take the time to listen to our own inner world and sit with ourselves and be with that, we do not need to go out into the world and yell at classes, groups of people. Yeah, your ability to heal this world really comes from just sitting with, I don't even want to say healing, because it can seem like a big task, but sitting with that internal divide. When do you feel that come up in your relationships? When do you feel like, oh, this person I feel like they don't see or hear me really. I feel like I might not be appreciated. I don't know if I can be my full self around this person. I don't know if I feel safe. All of these awarenesses are heightening. So if you are experiencing this right now, you're not alone. If you're like, oh God, this friend of mine is triggering me more than ever now, what's going on? They're probably doing the same thing they've always done. Bernie, oh, I miss you. Come back. It's so beautiful now. You're welcome here anytime. So just keeping this awareness in the back of your mind that right now we are being invited to speak up more to those situations in our life, to those relationship dynamics that don't feel fully right, that don't sit fully right, where we don't feel fully safe in those dynamics. And with that, it's a journey. So not being hard on yourself if you see something that doesn't sit right with you in your relationship and you're like, I just can't speak up to this right now. Because then we can go into the cycles of really beating up on ourselves and being hard on ourselves. So just moving through this time with awareness, but also grace and patience with yourself. Because this awareness is going to keep getting louder, and so maybe it just needs to get a bit louder for you to have a conversation with a certain person. Unfortunately, these things aren't going to die back down. It's not like you're suddenly being really, really revved up and noticing something that doesn't feel right in your relationship and it's just going to go away. We're being invited to use our voices in a conscious way to consciously communicate with one another. So I am sending everyone just waves of grace and patience and compassion, but also courage to have those intimidating conversations, to recognize and acknowledge that fear of conflict that you may have felt for most of your life, and be like, okay, no, I'm going to have this one conversation. I can do it. And of course, if you need support, I am here. This is the primary thing that I've been working on with clients is just like creating that foundation of connection to ourselves that's strong enough so that we feel safe to have those conversations, so that we can, those people-pleasing tendencies and the shape-shifting and adapting and abandoning ourselves can just kind of subtly relax. And then we can step forward into having conversations where we express ourselves and actually maybe get our needs met for the first time. Or maybe even just become aware of our needs. It's a big thing for a lot of people right now is, I haven't known that I've had needs in relationship. Oh, I really value being respected. I really value this. I value that. So I'll leave everyone with this gorgeous view. And sending you all so much love as we move through these wild times together. Mwah.